Hello, I'm DeDe, and I'm glad you're here with me for 30 minutes of yoga. In this session, we're going to focus on balancing poses. We'll be standing the whole time, so we'll be challenging our balance to have greater endurance, greater stability, greater confidence, as well as a greater ability to balance in any situation. You'll need a yoga mat if you're on a hard floor surface. You'll need some water. You probably won't need your shoes or your socks. Plenty of space, and you'll move slower or through a smaller range of motion if you need to. So let's begin in mountain pose. This is a balancing pose, especially once we close our eyes. It's one of the easier ones, but still, it is a balancing pose. So bring your feet underneath your hip joints, soften your knees, shoulders roll back and down, your pelvis is level all the way around. Ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips, hips over ankles. Now let's wrap the hands around so we're holding on to our side ribs. Relax your shoulders, relax your collarbones. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that. And let's breathe for a moment in and out through the nose. Breathe right into your hands. Expanding your ribs out into your hands on the inhales and feeling them shrink back down again on the exhales. Now keep doing that deep breathing into your hands, but then bring your attention also to your feet. You want to balance the weight equally from right foot to left foot, as well as from the front of your foot to the back of your foot, back by your heel. So just balance the weight equally, right to left, front to back, across both of your feet as you breathe into your hands. And then if your eyes are closed, you can let them start to open. And then we'll release the hands, but we'll still breathe as if we had our hands around our ribs. And take your arms down. Now we'll inhale. Press your palms together. On the exhale, lift your right heel up. Get a little toe stretch. And we'll do that on the other side too. Shift the weight. Exhale, lift the heel. And again. Two more. Both heels down, inhale. Shift the weight forward toward your toes a little bit. Exhale, take your arms forward, shift the weight back a little bit into your heels, and do it again. So when we're shifting the weight, that's creating a challenge for our balance. Can you feel it? Now let's go lower with the hands as we inhale, rock the weight a little bit forward, and then exhale, bring the arms higher up. You can bend your elbows if you need to. The weight goes back a little bit into your heels, and do it again. So there are 3 different ways that our body and brain help us to balance. The first one is with our eyes. So being in a brightly lit space with your eyes open, that makes it easier to balance. Second way is with our inner ear. So when our head is kind of still and it's not moving, that helps us to keep our balance better. If we tilt the head or the head is in motion, that makes it a little more challenging. And the third way is some sensors throughout our body that tell our brain where we are in space. We're going to challenge all of those in this session. All right, bring your arms down. Now inhale. And then we'll push the hips back and we'll sit back just a little bit, like chair pose as we exhale, just a little bit, and then we'll do it again. So now this time on the way up, we'll lift our heel up. And then we'll exhale, take the heel down. And then the other heel. So now if you look a little bit down, like a couple feet in front of you when you're down here, and then you look a little bit up, so you're actually changing your eye gaze, so that's challenging your balance by changing your vision. And if you're tilting your head a little bit because your body's tilting, that's challenging your inner ear a little bit. Keeping your elbows bent at the top if you need to. One more. And then we'll stay all the way down. Hands on the legs this time. I'll just turn to the side so you can see. Shoulders away from ears now. Inhale, your tailbone lifts up. And then as you exhale, your tailbone slides down. So tailbone up toward the sky. Inhale. When you're ready to exhale, tailbone down toward the earth. 2 more. One more time. All right, and then come back to a neutral spine, and then push off with your arms and hinge up. Inhale, sweep your arms up. And then we'll exhale and step the feet out to about shoulder width. Now we'll push the air this way. We'll come up on the trailing foot tiptoes. Then we'll push the air this way. And we'll just go back and forth. Maybe you can exhale. Then inhale, exhale, push. So now we're changing the direction of our eyes. We're moving our torso, we're moving our head. We're changing our base of support by coming up on the tiptoes of one foot. So this is a very dynamic way to balance, working a little bit on our agility. And speaking of that, if at any point you need to be near a wall or a countertop or a sturdy chair, I want you to make sure that you make those things available to you if you need them. And one more. And then relax your arms. Now let's twist here. So this is a more upright and a much more floppy arm situation, right? Nice and loose through your back, turning your spine along its axis and just letting your arms wrap around your body. That should feel pretty good. Now we'll step out into a wider stance, so even wider with your toes turned out to match the turnout of your knees. And then we'll inhale and we'll exhale, hands come down. And we'll do it again. So this wider stance is pretty unusual, right? So this is a challenge for our balance just because it's different. Normally a wider stance is a little more stable, but then there is a tipping point where the wider stance becomes so wide that it's not as stable. And we might be there right now, so just be stable and balanced. All right, now we'll come down here, hands on the legs. Make sure your knees and toes are facing the same direction. Inhale, exhale, straighten out one leg a bit, and the other knee is bending more. And then inhale back to the center, and exhale over to the other side. Do that again. Inhale, exhale. You can tip your pelvis away from the straightening leg to get even more inner thigh stretch. Do you feel it? Offering yourself some support with your hands on your legs. Notice how the torso is still kind of hanging around the center of this pose. But now we'll start to change that a little bit. Both hands, if you can. And both hands. Make sure the knee is right in line with the center of the foot. And then come on back to the center. Rise up. Now I'm going to turn sideways. You might want to turn sideways too. Here's why. We need some space behind us. We're going to be doing this. Stepping back into a backward stepping lunge and then stepping back up again. And we'll do multiples on a single leg. Okay? So keep your feet on a railroad track, whether you've stepped back or you've stepped forward again. Don't go on a tightrope. All right, so the leg that's closest to me, and you have that same arm that's closest to me that goes forward, and then we step them back up, and we do it again. So this is very dynamic as well, isn't it? They're having to balance and be stable and be strong, and working on our agility. Let's do two more. Landing as lightly as you can on your back foot, keeping the work in your front leg. And then stop, roll your shoulders. And then when you're ready, the leg that's furthest from me, that one goes. Your arm goes forward on that same side, and then step up. To hold on to something, make sure that you are if you do need to. Last two. This front knee stays over the front ankle. Make sure you have that going on. And one more. And then we step up, and then we return to our mountain pose. Feet under hips, hands in front of the heart. And then let your eyes open. Now, take your arms into a V, leaning a little bit to the right so your right leg is a little heavier. And then your arms come down. Now your V can have bent elbows. It doesn't have to be straight. And that looks like this, leaning to the left this time. So we're changing the position of our head. We're shifting the weight over to one leg. So those are two ways that we're balancing and challenging our balance. Now if you can lift your heel on the side that you're leaning away from, that's excellent. Let's try that. Now, if you can slide your foot out, you can keep it on the mat and then slide it back in. keep it on the floor if you're not using a mat. All right, now if you feel really comfortable, then you can try lifting your leg up. That's 5-pointed star. How are you doing with your focal point? Now this one we're going to hold. So tip over and hold. Keep breathing. Whole body working. And then come on down and we'll switch sides. Stay here. All right, and then let's release that. Coming back to your mountain pose. And then soften your knees, push your hips out a little bit behind you, and slide your hands down. How far down is up to you. Keep your knees bent. You can slide your hands down onto your shins, your ankles, your feet, yoga blocks, the floor. Wherever you're going to stop, stop there and relax your neck. Make sure your knees are bent here because we want our back to relax. So make sure you're allowing that to happen. Now slide your hands up onto your shins. If they're not already there, let's come halfway up. Stay here, breathe. Shoulders draw down toward your tailbone. Now hands up on your hip creases and then slowly rise up. All right, now we'll do some warrior threes. So that's a one-legged balance where you tip over to maybe 45 degrees, maybe 90 degrees if you're comfortable. 45 is usually comfortable for most everyone, so you do what you need to do there. Starting with our hands on our hips for the first round, shoulders back, soften your legs, take your right leg back, and then be like a teeter-totter, tip over. Try not to tilt your hips over to one side. Keep your hips level. And then slowly tip back up like a teeter-totter. Both feet come down, relax your arms, stand tall. And then we'll do the other side. Left leg back, soften your knees. Like a teeter-totter now, tip over. Feel where your hands are so you know that you're not tipping your hip over to the left. You don't want to do that. Keep your hips level. Are you drooping your head or your leg? Try not to droop. And then we'll tip back up. So biomechanically, you don't want to droop. Think about what would happen to a teeter-totter if there was any droopy parts. It wouldn't work. So the same could be said for warrior three. Next, we'll take our thumbs to our sternum, or you can keep your hands on your hips. Let's inhale. Right leg goes back. No droopy parts now. Exhale, tip over. Keep breathing. You find your just right depth. Stay in it now. Bringing your foot down if you lose your balance. Let's tip back up. And then release. And then we'll do the other side. Hands where you need them to be. Take your left leg back. Tip over. tip back up. And then release the arms. You know, a good way to think about balancing is this. Gravity is a huge force, much bigger than any of us or all of us put together. Don't expect to overcome gravity, because you won't, nor do you really want to, right? You just want to coexist with it for a moment successfully. Some days are easier than others. Now, our last option is to have our fingers to our temples with the elbows open, or you can stay here with hands at sternum, or you can have your hands on your hips. So here we go. Elbows are open if you're doing this version. Right leg back, tip over. And then tip back up, and then release. One more time. Find your arm position, left leg goes back. Here we go, coexisting with gravity successfully for our moment. And then tipping back up, and both feet come down, your arms come down. Let's come back to our mountain pose. All right, and then let your eyes open, bring your arms down to your sides, roll your shoulders up and back and down, and once again. All right, let's step our feet out wide. Turn your toes out, bend your knees, sit back with your hips, but keep your chest lifted and your hands go on your legs. Okay, so we're going to bring some strength and some muscular endurance training back to our legs here. Not just our hips, but our legs. See if you can lift your right heel up. Are you okay with that? Shoulders down, bend your left elbow. See if you can reach over to the right side a little bit. Keep pushing your knees open, both of them. All right, and then we're coming back to the center, lowering the heel if it was lifted. Lift your left heel. Right arm, lean. Now you can play around with some of the things we were talking about, like your head position. That will challenge your balance more. You can close one eye, maybe. Keep it safe, keep it safe. Does that feel okay? Or you can just keep it simple, not challenge yourself any more than you already are. Back, lower your heel. Now turn your toes toward me and ease your hands down. Once again, maybe to your shins, maybe to your yoga blocks, maybe to the floor. Relax your neck. And then we'll turn the toes out once again, bend the knees. Take the hands back onto the thighs, shoulders away from ears. Now inhale, drop this right shoulder down as you exhale. We're going to stay here. Breathe in, breathe out. Back to the center, and we'll switch. Now coming back to the center and then slowly taking your time hinging up. Now we're going to turn our feet to the right, but we're going to keep them on a railroad track. Don't let them be on a tightrope. Turn. So I'm moving my right foot over a little bit, so I'm on my railroad track. And then we'll push the back heel down. Both sets of toes are facing straight to the right. And then if you need more calf stretch in your back leg, you can bend your right knee a little bit. Turn your pelvis straight on to the right side. So we want to have a nice stretch in the calf, nothing too extreme. All right, and then we'll tip forward. We'll have a neutral spine here. We'll bend the right knee, and maybe you need to scoot your left foot back a little bit to be in a low lunge. Fists or fingertips or yoga blocks are great here. And then allow your right leg to straighten a little bit, and we'll move into this pyramid pose. So we're not really trying to push the back heel down too aggressively. It's more like we're trying to find squared hips and a straighter right leg. Now let's walk hand over hand around to the other side, where we're going to do those two stretches in the reverse order. So first we'll find the pyramid position. So you're on a railroad track with your feet, and you're allowing your left leg to straighten a bit while you square your hips and try to find a straighter back. And then bend your left knee, slide your right foot in a few inches, just a few inches. Then we'll start to come up. Put your hands on your front thigh, and then we'll sink our back heel down. So you might have to bring your foot in even closer. And then to the degree that works for you, bend your left knee. Calf stretch, back there. Keep turning your hips straight on to the left. So even though we have both feet on the floor, can you feel how this is also a challenge for your balance? I hope you can. Now we turn toward one another and we slide the feet back in. Now, another balance challenge stretch. Take your right foot behind you, hold on to something if you need to. Bend your knee if you can, with your foot off the ground. Hold your ankle if you can. And then we'll take our left arm out as a counterbalance. So remember, if you're on a yoga mat, you can make things easier by stepping off onto the harder floor. Even if you're on carpet with a yoga mat, you could still make it easier by not having two squishy surfaces to balance on. And then let's switch. Sometimes it is nice to challenge yourself with two squishy surfaces, but not if it makes balancing impossible or risky. All right, leg back, option 1. Option 2, bend your knee. Option 3, hold your ankle. and then release your foot down. Feet underneath your hips. Roll your shoulders up and back and down. And then draw your arms back. Open up your chest. Stay here. So make your arms go past your body. And then release that and roll one more time. Up and back and down. All right, so how did you do with that? Did you feel challenged in different ways, I hope? With your balance, with your agility, with your stability, and with your dynamic movement as well as static balancing? All of those translate to better balance off of your mat as well. So as usual, thank you for joining me. And until next time, be well.